Welcome to today's episode of Your Daily Scrum. I'm professional Scrum trainer Ryan Ripley. That gentleman over there is professional Scrum trainer Todd Miller. We get together each and every day answering your questions about Scrum and Agile and all sorts of team-based stuff, hoping that you get a little bit better each and every day. We co-authored the book, Fixing Your Scrum, Practical Solutions to Common Scrum Problems. We teach a ton of the scrum.org courses, a lot of pro Kanban courses. You can check us out in the description. All that fun stuff is there. Todd, how you doing today?
Doing pretty great. It's a holiday here. Kids were home. Got to see some youth sports.
Yeah, it's a good weekend. Lots of sports.
Lots of sports.
Holiday for the kids. So we got to spend the day. My middle child's birthday is today.
Oh, happy birthday, middle child.
Yeah, big Holden. He's big 9 now. thinks he's ready to move out. But yeah, so it was a good day. We got a question in the mailbag, and we are going to tackle it. This is a good question, and I'm glad someone proposed it. What is #no estimates, and can it help Scrum teams? Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning, and Todd, you might have some questions here.
I actually have a ton of questions because there's this big no estimates movement. Yep. I kind of was afar from it. I was doing what I was doing. I really honestly can tell you that I don't know a ton about it. I know enough about it to be dangerous, but I'm not deeply intimately aware of what no estimates all means, right?
So in the beginning, there was a tweet. We'll start there. So
how many stories start that way?
Oh, a lot. So Woody Zuhl, I believe, is one of the originators. Vasco Duarte was right around at the beginning as well. Neil Killick. So Neil recently did a slicing episode on fixing your Agile coaching with me. So if you want to check that out, we'll put a link in. So Neil and Vasco and Woody were kind of like the three originators of this idea. Woody put out a tweet, talking about estimates and, the efficacy and the usefulness and the use of them and the misuse of them. And I don't remember the exact contents of the original tweet, but he tagged it #no estimates. And so this led to some very lively discussions. A lot of the discussions were really around the definition of no estimates. So does it mean never estimate anything ever? Does it mean, do not use traditional estimation techniques that turn into commitments and targets? Was the topic around, management misuse of estimates? Was the topic around a lack of professionalism in developers who were giving poor estimates? And I think the answer is yes to all of that. I think it was supposed to be a discussion around all of those things, trying to come up with a method of understanding work a little bit better and coming up with a method of being able to perhaps forecast, but without the commitments that we know can cause issue, right?
It's interesting you're saying this, Ryan, because when I see the #no estimates, it doesn't say #no forecasts. Right. So I don't know if you've heard this or you've seen this happen before, but sometimes when you put things on Twitter, it can get misconstrued.
Well,
I think there's a world of people that have misconstrued some of this to be that it's no forecasting, right?
Yeah, and there's, in all admission, like I jumped in a few years after Woody started it up, and I did a year's worth of talks on, no estimates and alternatives to estimating, and a lot of it was around forecasting, right? And so if we go down the logical line, forecasting is a form of estimation, right? And I believe many of the no estimates advocates. I think Woody is kind of at the very far extreme where he would even say no, forecasting is not helpful. I disagree with him there, right? I think forecasting, especially along the lines of Daniel Vacanti's "When Will It Be Done," is a great way to work. You and I are both proponents of Monte Carlo simulation, forecasting, data-driven decision-making, data-driven forecasting and scheduling.
100%.
And so we're definitely more towards the moderate side of the no estimate spectrum. We have people like Alan Hullab, who's kind of on that extreme end, along with Woody. I think Neil is more practical. I think Neil is more on our side of it. I think Vasco is somewhere between us and Woody and Alan, probably leaning more towards the extreme. And it's just one of those where it's a fun discussion. It's an interesting way to look. my goal in it, and I can't speak for anyone else, was to get teams away from story points. I find story points to be not very useful, and I think they're damaging. I know you and I are on the same page there. And when I found
story points and velocity are basically the some of the most destructive things that we've seen in organizations are as a direct result of velocity and story points. And it's just it's epically frustrating.
Ron Jeffries said he may have been the person who invented story points, and if he is, he regrets it. I think that's a clear signal. And that, yes, is that a fallacy? Is it a appeal to an expert? Yes, but I think it's just a one pointer that kind of led me down this path too. And I think at this point, is the no estimates hashtag in the Twitter discussion useful to Scrum teams? Probably not. I don't think there's a lot of smoke, not a lot of fire, or maybe there's a lot of noise and not a lot of signal. I think grabbing Vacanti's book and learning how to forecast appropriately is wildly helpful to Scrum teams.
Yeah.
And I think that's the direction I would go in. I'm grateful for the year or two that I spent exploring these ideas. I think I came out of it with a better appreciation of forecasting. I think I came out of it with a better appreciation of how online conversations and discussions work. I just no longer have an interest in debating definitions.
Yeah.
And I no longer have an interest in arguing. And I no longer have an interest in, I found the answers I was looking for and I've moved on.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm doing Googling, to be honest with you, just to gain some comprehension.
Yeah.
And from what I'm seeing in a couple different articles, it seems like a lot of it is surrounds around throughput and looking historically at your throughput and using your throughput on PBI counts to do forecasting, yep. Right? So am I right there? Is that kind of the pretense? That's
a lot of the arguments.
Simply simplifying.
Yeah, I think it's very throughput driven. Neil takes a slicing approach.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to teach teams how to right size work and mine for value, and then the forecast will kind of normalize, and then you can use simulation to figure out dates. And so I think Neil's taken a very pragmatic approach. I'm more of a Neil Kalikian no estimates guy, right? I
like that word right sizing.
And so I tend to line up more with Neil on a lot of the things. And you're going to see, if you go to the no estimates hashtag, a lot of the advocates, there's some bad behavior out there, right? And none of that's good. When we start the attacks, that never works, and a lot of the arguments devolve into that. And so if you do go out to the no estimates tag and you have questions and you're advocating forecasting, let's keep it all civil. They're just some
I think these are really great discussions to have.
Yeah.
Right. And I love the passion in them, as long as there's civility to the passion.
And the thing about Twitter is, and I finally realized this, you are allowed to just bow out at some point. You don't have to argue this to the end of the earth. You can take the lessons that you learn from it, figure out what can help your teams, drop the stuff that can't, and keep going, deliver value, do good things. Yeah. So I do think, like I said, I'm more in line with Neil on the slicing forecasting, and then with Vacanti with the Monte Carlo and the throughput. And I think that is like the biggest benefit I got out of that whole exploration of the topic.
It's a great topic. I've been experimenting in this space because I've been asked to do forecasting quite a bit. Don't get me wrong. If you don't have to, don't do it unnecessarily, because I've worked with some teams that didn't have to provide long-term forecasts. I worked with some teams that wanted to understand where they were going. I think we have this notion of a product goal now that we probably should forecast against, but we're not required to. So I think these are all really good discussions that I think we can have. And so check it out. Let us know what you're doing.
Keep it civil, go out there with an open mind, open heart. And when it gets to the point to where you're not getting value out of it, you're allowed to just stop, right? Where there's no right or wrong here. You're doing what's best in your context, for your stakeholders, for your organization. And you don't have to defend that or justify that to anybody. So learn what you can, drop what you can't. And check out Vacanti's work. And I think you're going to come out of it with a great view on agility and on forecasting, which is an estimate, right? But I think it's one of the better types of estimates. How about that?
Yeah. And I am going to forecast that our episode is almost finished.
And it's time for the end screen. Be sure to like and subscribe for future Your Daily Scrums. We've got a lot of fixing your Kanban, fixing your Agile coaching, fixing your Agile metrics episodes coming up. So like and subscribe so you don't miss a single one. Check out the socials. We're pretty active on Twitter and LinkedIn. We're trying to figure out the others, but we're not quite there yet. Some videos are going to pop up here in a moment. Check those out. The algorithm thinks you'll like them. We do too. For Todd Miller, I'm Ryan Ripley. We hope you got some value out of this. If you have some no estimates questions, leave them in the comments. I'm sure there will be people here who can help. If a really juicy one pops up, maybe we'll turn it into another episode. But until then, go forward, do some great things, forecast your work, provide your stakeholders with forecasts and estimates. When will it be done is a great question. And hopefully some of the techniques we mentioned can help you answer that. Until tomorrow, have a great day.
See you.